俺たちが日々磨き上げてるのは、理想から生まれた誠実な心。それだけなんだ。
Coffee shop. Darkness enshrouds the nearby coastline, with only the usual sound of waves to be heard. It becomes a faint white noise as it drifts into the room. The tiny raindrops pitter-patter against the glass, gradually blurring the view outside. With a pop, you are snapped back to reality. Chiang is clasping his hands, looking at you pleadingly.
なあ、弁護士さん、本当に助けてくれるんだよな。
Don't worry, I've already promised you. I won't go back on my word. Although when Luke had entrusted you with Chiang's case the other day, you hadn't expected it to be so hard to make progress on the case. Dim Sum Diner. There are few customers in the shop, and you sit in the corner staring blankly at the half-open glass door. Even after the disaster relief efforts, Luke still doesn't have any free time. You can only find brief moments to stay in touch through text messages. By the time you return to your senses, you have unknowingly opened the message from Luke about having dim sum together last night. He said that he's finally got some free time, but I guess he's just taking the time to relax. I wonder what Luke has been up to lately. You heard a sharp snap of fingers. You look up and see Luke pulling out the chair next to you.
あれ、待たせちまったか。途中で連絡が入って少し時間取られちまったんだ。
Don't worry about it. I just got here too, but the one who's late has to order the food.
任せてくれ。
After taking the menu from you, Luke takes a quick look and then waves the server over to order a few signature dishes. You've been really busy lately. Is it because you've taken on a new task?
ああ、臨時の任務で。そんなに難しくないし、すぐ終わるだろうけど。
Just let me know if you need any help.
実は、あるんだ。でも、俺じゃなくて、剛さんのことで。
Xiang, what about him? Luke does not directly answer you. Instead, he takes out his phone and shows you a surveillance video.
ほら、見てくれ。
On the screen, you can clearly see two groups of people fighting. The scene is extremely chaotic while Xiang frowns and shouts something on the side. The video only lasts 15 seconds and soon ends. You give the phone back to Luke in confusion. And what's this supposed to be?
新翼会の乱闘現場を抑えたところ。場所は岸壁岬だな。鎌田義郎が自首して、新翼会も解散したが、これまでの行いがなかったことになるわけじゃない。新自我党が安定したら、違法行為を働いた構成員も法で裁かれることになる。この監視カメラの映像は、国際保安官が見つけた証拠の一つで、後で南満当局に提出するんだ。
Then why was Xiang there?
止めに入ったけどうまくいかなくて、すぐに立ち去ったらしい。だけど監視カメラには、彼が現場にいた映像しか残ってないんだよな。
I see. Xiang is the grandson of the former leader of the Zenji Society, and he is close to Lingyi. Given his background, showing up to a fight simply to play mediator isn't going to convince anyone. Luke nods, picking up his teacup and taking a sip.
今この件が調べられてるってことは、検察側はこれを切り口に、剛さんを起訴するつもりだろう。
So, you want me to be Chiang's defense attorney?
前に調査した時、彼は鎌田が裏で何をやってたか知らなかったんだ。鎌田が意図的に関与させなかったのもあるけど、彼自身がそういった犯罪行為に関わってなかったってのも無視できないからな。
Got it. I'll take on this case and talk to Chiang later.
多分下町にいるはずだ。最近は新翼会の構成員に自首するよう説得してるらしい。急な依頼で迷惑かけちまうけど頼んだぞ。
Don't mention it. The server serves the dim sum and Luke pushes the signature shrimp dumplings in front of you.
食べてみろって。この店すごく評判がいいんだ。きっとうまいよ。
Yeah, you should also. Before you can finish speaking, two beeping sounds ringing out. Luke slightly freezes and then takes out the communicator from his pocket. He glances at it and then a hint of apology appears on his face.
先に任務を片付けに行かないと。こっちから誘っておいて一人にしちまってごめん。
It's okay, you can just treat me to dim sum again after you finish your task.
もちろん約束するよ。
Luke stands up and is about to leave when you call out to him again. Hey Luke, wait!
どうした？
Before he can react, you quickly stuff a custard bun into his mouth. Then you swiftly pack up some of the dim sum and hand it to him. You haven't had breakfast yet either. Don't push yourself too hard with the task and take care of yourself.
わかった。途中で食べるよ。
Luke might have choked from swallowing too fast. He covers his mouth and coughs twice. You immediately hand him a cup of water.
大丈夫だ。お前こそちゃんと食べろよ。じゃあ先に行くな。
Luke hands the cup back to you, but he freezes when you take it. But he doesn't say anything more and leaves with his breakfast. You look down only to realize that the cup you just handed over is your own. He could have said something. You look toward the door, but Luke is already out of sight. It's been several days since you parted ways with Luke, and you haven't received any messages from him. Meanwhile, you've been completely focused on Chiang's case, only to find that the existing evidence can't directly prove his innocence. Seeing you lost in thought again, Chiang anxiously leans towards you.
弁護士さん、あの日は本当に止めに入っただけなんだよ。信じてくれ。
I believe you, but right now we're really lacking evidence. Think again, do you have any other leads about that fight? Witnesses or evidence that can prove you were not involved in the fight? Chiang stretches his head in thought for a while before writing down an address located in Rock Chasm Point on the paper.
もしかしたら、シンさんが証明してくれるかも。
Atai?
島で有名な情報屋だ。あの日現場を離れた後、あの人の家に寄ったから、証人になってくれるかはわからないけど。
The fight was still ongoing when you went to his place. It would be very helpful if he could testify. You look at the clock on the wall. Its hour hand points precisely to 8 o'clock. Since there's still some time today, I'll go meet Atai.
恩に切るよ、弁護士さん。外はまだ雨が降ってるみたいだし、送ろうか。
No need. Rock Chasm Point isn't far from here. Aren't you going to see the Zenji Society members? You should go ahead.
わかった。じゃあ、何かあったら呼んでくれ。
After saying goodbye to Chiang, you immediately head to Rock Chasm Point. Unexpectedly, the roads here turn out to be a maze. After a lot of back and forth, you eventually find a rundown 6-story building. corridor. Is this the place? The corridor on the second floor is unlit, but the moonlight allows you to roughly see the layout of this place. You carefully step over the pile-up debris, stirring up the dust on the floor. Raindrops slide down your umbrella, leaving a wet trail beside your footsteps. It doesn't look like anyone's living here. Did I come to the wrong place? You look around and see the neighboring residential building outside the window. The two buildings are separated by just enough space for one person to pass through. At the same time, you catch sight of Luke. You push open the dusty window and hear the sound of rain hitting the plastic awning. The low-quality lamps in the lower district emit a dim white light, illuminating the drifting raindrops that are not fully blocked by the east. Luke is half leaning against the fire escape, his face barely visible in the shadows. Luke. You subconsciously lean out to a window but quickly realize that Luke is probably on the job, so his name dies on your tongue. Luke seems to sense something and raises his head slightly to meet your gaze.
なんでここにいるんだ？
Seeing that he doesn't seem to be hiding anything, you feel a little relief. I'm here to investigate Chiang's case. He provided a witness named Atai. Do you know him?
シンさん。
After a brief moment of surprise, Luke shakes his head.
その人ならここにいない。
Do you mind telling me what you're doing here?
俺は
A black shadow flashes past the second floor. Luke glances up and suddenly smiles playfully, stepping into his role on the island.
見張り番。
Why is he suddenly...
というか、女の子がこんなところまで来るなんて、ほんと怖いもの知らずだよな。
You look around quietly. The building where Luke is located still has residents, because you can see moving figures through the windows of the lower floors. Is he worried about someone eavesdropping? Keeping calm, you play along. Thanks a lot. Now I have to deal with the mess you created. I'm doing all this just to save your face. You know that, right, Luke?
へえ、珍しく俺のことを気にかけてくれるじゃん。何しに来たんだよ。
I've gone through all this to come here to find out about Atai's whereabouts, of course.
弁護士さんの頼みとあっちゃ断れないな。だけどご覧の通り、今はここから動けなくてさ。またいい時にゆっくり話そうぜ。
Sure, you can decide when, but I don't have all day, so you'd better be quick.
了解。さすが弁護士大先生。仕事が早いな。剛さんの件が片付いたら、俺の弁護も頼みたいもんだ。
Luke leans back, looking more relaxed. No problem, but even you have to pay the full attorney fee.
そういう几帳面なところ、グッとくるな。じゃあこうしよう。シンさんの情報を手付金代わりってのはどうかな。俺の誠意伝わる？
Not bad, I'll be waiting. During this conversation, you have informed Luke about the progress of the case. He lowers his eyes, seemingly lost in thought. Since Atai hasn't been found, you don't want to disturb him while he's on the job. Just as you're thinking of an excuse to leave, loud footsteps sound from the end of the corridor. A group of people runs towards you two. Luke glances at them casually, but his expression changes when he sees two of them enter the building you're in.
まずい。
He quickly looks around, his gaze falling on the end of the second floor. You glance in the same direction and can barely make out a door at the end. I'll go through the exit over there.
俺もすぐ行く。
From the corner of your eye, you see Luke straightening up and walking directly toward those people. Corridor. Just as you approach the end of the corridor, you hear the sound of fighting downstairs. Luke. You resist the urge to look back and run forward quickly. Passage. You push open the door to the fire escape and rush into the night. Then you quickly turn around, lock the door, and head straight downstairs. You weren't expecting the fire escape to be broken right in the middle, with the railing below covered in rust and on the verge of collapsing, causing you to come to an abrupt stop. Luke has already knocked down the last person. He doesn't dally, running straight over to you. Bang! You hear a loud crash upstairs as those people have already reached the door. You look downstairs where Luke is just a few steps away. It is about a 1.5 meter drop from where you are, and there is a lot of debris piled up on the ground. This door won't hold out much longer. If these people catch me, I'm done for. If I jump from this height, the worst thing that could happen is a sprained ankle. You grit your teeth, step over the broken railing, and jump down. The fall you expected never comes as you are firmly caught. Opening your eyes, you see Luke's face before you.
間に合った。怪我はないか？
I'm fine. You. Before you can ask about his situation, the fire door, unable to withstand the impact any longer, slams violently against the wall, and several people burst in. Luke glances upstairs, puts you down, and immediately pulls you to the intersection.
こっちだ。
Corner. Luke seems to be familiar with the area. After a few intersections, you two manage to shake off most of the people. But running for a long time makes you exhausted, and you struggle to keep up with Luke. He seems to notice it, leading you to a corner of the alley. In the narrow space, Luke stands in front of you. Your overlapping shadows are blurred into one by the moonlight.
なんでバレたかわからないけど、一旦落ち着こう。脱出方法は後で考える。
I'm fine. Let's leave right now. If they catch up to us...
いや、あっちの数が多すぎる。逃げ続けるのは得策じゃない。先に体力を回復してくれ。
As soon as he finishes speaking, you hear footsteps outside the alley. Looks back instantly tenses. He places his hand behind you and pulls you further into the intersection, your shadow completely hidden in the darkness.
もしあいつらとやり合うことになったら、ここで待っててくれ。すぐに戻ってくるからさ。
You move faster than you speak, grabbing onto Luke's sleeve, but you feel him freezes up for a moment. It's too dangerous, Luke.
心配すんな。俺に任せとけって。
The person doesn't enter the alley. Through the gap between Luke and the wall, you see someone at the entrance.
もう片付いたから出てくるといい。
The alley falls silent. After waiting for a moment and seeing that the man still doesn't move, Luke takes your hand and walks out.
味方だ。
The alley. Upon getting closer, you finally get a clear look at the man. He is around 30 years old with a sturdy build and dark skin. He looks like someone who has lived on the island for many years.
伊藤英二だ。今回の相棒ってところかな。
こちらは？
俺の部下です。あなたには関係ないでしょ。
Luke moves slightly, blocking Heron's gaze on you, but Heron just shrugged unbothered.
さて、
これで確信が持てたな。誰かが俺たちを見張っている。予想通りお待ちかねの第三勢力登場というわけだ。
なあ、俺もその線で調べるけど、伊藤さんはどうするんだ？
真の人脈をもう一度さらってみるよ。
Atai? You are surprised to hear Atai's name from her wrong. The scene, a third party, the mistress Atai, and the ambush just now. It finally dawns on you that what Luke is investigating is way more dangerous than you thought. With that in mind, you can't help but ask Luke about it. He gently nods at her wrong.
じゃあ、手がかりを見つけたら連絡するので。
了解。
After confirming the next steps, her wrong turns and leaves. Luke doesn't turn towards you until his retreating figure completely disappears.
ここだと話せないな。とりあえず、場所を変えるぞ。
Deck. After leaving the rock chasm point, Luke takes you to the nearest dock and pulls you onto a speedboat. The engine roars to life and the coastline quickly recedes as you move away. Soon it is completely shrouded in mist. The speedboat leaves a long trail on the sea, with splashing waves hitting the deck. You stare at the shallow water through the glass. The night breeze blows in, carrying a chill in the air. Where are we going?
漁港だ。気になることがあってさ。
Is it okay for me to be joining you?
俺が剛さんの件を依頼したから、お前はシンさんのことを突き止めた。つまり、この件に巻き込んだのは俺のせいだろ。一人で危険な目に遭わせるわけにはいかない。一緒に行動してくれ。そうすれば、お互い助け合えるしな。
The speedboat is now sailing smoothly. Apart from the faint glow of the navigation lights, everything around is pitch black. Perhaps this is actually a perfect cover for Luke. He is largely relaxed as he taps his fingers on the helm.
安心しろよ。任務を自由に遂行する権限はあるし、今回の上陸は元から共同作戦ってことになってたから、お前が加わっても問題ないよ。
So, what exactly are you investigating? What's the deal with Atai? Luke lets out a faint sigh.
シンさんは亡くなってる。
What? The noise from the motor and the waves is so loud that you think you've misheard. You instinctively move closer to Luke only to see that his expression is unusually serious.
最初から説明するよ。実は、俺たちが上陸する前から、南蛮には2人の特殊調査員がいて、島に潜入してたんだ。
Was Atai one of them?
あ、もう一人は伊藤さんだ。さっき会ったろ。彼らの任務は、島の情報を収集して、GPS 機能付きのハードディスクに保存することだった。そして、島のネットワークセキュリティが弱まった時に、南蛮に情報を送り返す。だけど地震が起きる前に、シンさんが持ってたハードディスクは戦地研究所で見つかって、それから通信が途絶えちまった。
You freeze and look at the sea. The underground part of the Oracle Research Institute has already sunk into the sea and no longer exists.
シンさん本人も地震の後に自宅で亡くなっているのが発見された。
What was the cause of his death?
銃撃だよ。弾道分析で銃器は特定できたけど、島では未登録の銃だったから、出所まではわからない。
Atai is an agent of Nanmanbi, which means that they would not simply let this murder slide.
そうだけど、あまりに突然だったから、南蛮の支援は行き届いてるとは言えなくてさ。それで、機を逃さないように、国安と協力することになった。俺の元々の任務は、ハードディスクを見つけ出すことで、 ナンマンは国家安全調査庁と情報を共有するはずだったんだが、今の状況から見るにハードディスクは研究所と一緒に海に沈んでるだろうな。
So, are we going to find the murderer now?
そういうこと。
Luke nods. He takes out his phone and hands it to you. The screen shows a photo of the crime scene. Atai was shot near the bookshelf in the complete mess of a living room. He must have fought the murderer before his death. What was found on the scene?
壊れかけの戦地研究所の ID カードと島の勢力分布に関する資料のバックアップだ。資料は全部目を通したけど、めぼしい情報は何もなかったな。
What else?
もうない。手がかりはこれで全部だ。
But most murder scenes will have some leads left by the murderers, like skin flakes, hair, or fabric fibers. These things are often overlooked and hard to clean up. Especially when things are left in such a mess, it only makes it even harder to completely clean up one's own trace. Luke clearly understands what you're trying to say. He shakes his head almost as soon as you speak.
犯人は現場をきれいに片付けちまって何も残してない。だけどそれがただの殺人じゃないって証拠になる。素人にここまでのことはできないからな。
All the information that surfaces because of the missing hard drive doesn't bring you any closer to the truth. Instead, it makes Atai's death even more mysterious. Right, what about that ID card?
破損して持ち主は特定できてない。でもこの ID カードは高い権限が付与されているから簡単に手に入るものじゃない。多分銭林本人が発行したんだろう。
Could it be that Atai used the hard drive as an exchange to gain Mr. Jin's trust? This can explain why the hard drive appeared in the research institute. However, after hearing what you said, Luke just shows a bitter smile.
ハードディスクは任務の機密情報だ。だから絶対に渡すことはないって伊藤さんは言ってた。つまりもし本当に取引が行われたとしたらシンさんは裏切り者だったってことになる。
You move your lips, but you can't say anything. Something feels really off. Although that ID card suggests that Mr. Jin may have a connection with Atai. Looking at the time he died, there's no way Mr. Jin could have done it. But if we rule out this relationship of interest, there is no other reason why he had to die.
そうなんだよな。今ある手がかりだと犯人の方向性すら見えないんだ。だからこそ第三勢力の存在を睨んでるけどさ。
That's odd. If he's already tied to Mr. Jin's interests, there's no way he would want him dead. Most importantly, he died after the earthquake, which rules out the possibility of being silenced due to a conflict with Mr. Jin.
俺もそう思う。だから銭林ではなくて他にもシンさんと利害関係のあった第三勢力がいるんじゃないかって考えてる。シンさんは高い権限の ID カードを手に入れてる。彼の能力なら銭林から情報を入手するのも難しくないだろう。何を掴んでいるかはわからないけど俺と伊藤さんはそれを利用して黒幕を引きずり出すつもりだったんだ。新翼会の残党を通して伊藤さんも同じ情報を持ってるって噂を流したらビンゴだ。彼は狙われるようになった。それで第三勢力の存在が確認できたってわけだ。ただまさか自分もバレるとは思わなかったしお前まで巻き添えにしちまって。
And here I was worried that you wouldn't get me involved. Nothing. So are we going to investigate that third party now?
ああ、これから向かう場所は危ないかもしれないが、俺がちゃんと守るから心配しなくていい。
I trust you, Luke. The rain has stopped and the lights along the shore are back in sight. You can see the fishing boats docked by the shore in the distance. But why come to the fishing port?
俺たちを追ってきた奴らの中で一人、魚の生臭い匂いがしてさ。調べてみたら、ここはシンジガ島最大の漁港で、しかも密航ルートが完備されてるんだ。
Smuggling. Are you suspecting that the third party is from outside the island? Luke slows down the boat, the sound of engine fades and his voice becomes clearer.
島の貴族や商人だけじゃない。島の外にも銭林の研究に興味を持つ人は相当いるからな。もし何万がシンジガ島を引き継いだら、シンさんは裏切りがバレちまうだろう。法の裁きから逃れるなら、よその勢力と手を組むのが一番いいって考えるんじゃないかな。だけどその勢力にしてみれば、今はシンジガ島と完全に縁を切る方が優先される。
So, when they realized that Atai had the relevant information, they decided to kill him.
そういう可能性があるってことだな。手がかりを追っていけば、真相だけじゃなくて、シンジガ島に関わろうとする勢力も見つかるかもしれない。
Your hypothesis does make sense, but how can we get information about recent smugglers who have landed on the island? Luke turns off the engine and drops the anchor. The speedboat sways gently with the waves, and he holds onto the guardrail, taking out a suitcase from under the seat.
地獄の沙汰も金次第ってやつさ。
He holds the suitcase in one hand and reaches out to you with the other.
よし、行こう。足元に気をつけろよ。
Fishing Port. The brightly lit street is chaotic yet bustling, with a mix of people and activities. Your suit makes you stand out in the crowd, drawing quite a few curious glances. Luke doesn't walk side by side with you. Instead, he walks a bit behind. You can hear him whispering to you as he leans forward slightly.
密航ルートの責任者は千兄さんって呼ばれてる。俺は新翼会の右腕を島から脱出させる口実で接近するつもりだけど、お前は彼が大金で雇った個人弁護士ってことで。
Who is the second in command?
剛さんだよ。彼以上の適任なんかいないだろ。
You can't help but press your lips together when you think of how carefree Chiang is. You are unsure how many people will actually buy this excuse. Got it, I'll play along. You two stop in front of an office where the neon sign tubes are partially broken, unable to show its full name. Luke raises his chin at the young underling standing downstairs.
おいお前、千兄さんに客だって伝えてくれ。金ならあるってな。
Luke wears a fierce expression as if he's itching to make trouble. The young man doesn't dare to argue back and mutters as he heads upstairs. Waiting room. Saying money is not a problem really works, and soon someone comes to welcome you. In the waiting room, Luke bends down, pats the sofa cushions like he's brushing off dust, and gestures for you to sit.
おや、新翼会のお方じゃありませんか。こいつは珍しい。一体全体どういう風の吹き回しで？
千兄さん、担当直入に言おう。今日は商談があってさ。
商談？何の商談ですって？
千兄さんと商談といや他にないでしょう。鎌田の兄貴は捕まっちまいましたが、剛さんとこはまだまだ健在ですからね。 今は島の情勢が不安定だから、剛さん、一旦外に出て身を隠したいんですよ。千兄さんなら難しくないだろ？
もちろんですとも。この道も長いですからな。漁港で聞いたらわかるでしょうが、うちの成功率は全島1ですよ。それに、こんな状況でもこの商いを続けられるのはうちだけです。
Zhao rubs his palm smugly. You and Luke look at each other and he nods quietly. We're here to help Chiang, not to listen to your empty promises. Can you show us? Before Zhao can hesitate, Luke puts down the suitcase on the table in front of him. The lock clicks open and the lid slowly lifts, revealing a chest full of Zujiga Island's circulating currency. Even you are surprised by the size, and Zhao's attention is completely drawn to the inside of the suitcase. Luke laughs sarcastically and throws a few stacks of money at Zhao.
言ったじゃないか。金ならあるって。さて、見せてもらえるよな。
Zhao puts away the money and stands up, gesturing for the two of you to follow him.
お二人ともこちらへ。
Wharf. You two follow Zhao directly to the dock. On the dilapidated path, Luke and you walk side by side behind him. Seeing that Zhao and his underlings aren't watching closely, you tug on Luke's sleeve and whisper to him. Luke, where did you get so much money?
もちろん、任務資金だ。
He switches the suitcase to his other hand and lowers his head as if he's about to whisper.
なんとかなるさ。何万が引き継いだら、密航ルートも一網打尽にするからな。
As the two of you speak, you arrive at the place that Zhao is so proud of. Hands in his pockets, he looks around at the fishing boats and speedboats along the shore, almost as if trying to show it off.
ほら、ここにある船、全部うちのものなんです。あなた方が選んでもいいし、それとも剛さんに好きなのを選んでもらえますか？
どれを選んでもいいのか？
もちろんですとも。ここ最近の商売は右肩上がりですけど、お得意様のことを第一に考えませんと。
Luke walks around the dock a few times, but he doesn't seem to find any suspicious boats, so he secretly gives you a wink. Wait, I heard you also handle island landing operations.
そこまでご存知なんですか？剛さんのために随分と熱心じゃありませんか。新翼会が再建された暁には、うちのことを忘れないでくださいよ。
Of course. Zhao pulls out a business card and hands it to you.
剛さんが戻りたくなったらいつでもこの番号にご連絡ください。
信用していいんだな。
もちろんです。お任せください。
千兄さん、あんたを疑ってるわけじゃないんだが、どうも最近はこっち方面の話を聞かなくなったと思っててさ。あんたの商売にも影響があるんじゃないかって俺たち心配してたんだよ。
As if exposed by Luke, Zhao's face shows a hint of embarrassment, and he tries to cover it up with a flattering smile.
さすがは新翼会、情報通ですな。ここだけの話、最近は誰も島に来ようとしないんですよ。銭林さんの一件以来、儲け話もないでしょ。おまけに地震まで起きちゃって、命が惜しいなら来ませんよね。
No one's been coming to the island recently. You subconsciously glance at Luke. He frowns, seemingly confused as well. Zhao pats his own chest, probably because he thinks you are hesitating.
ですがご安心を。うちはずっと評判がいいですからね。あの有名な情報屋のことは知ってるでしょ？
Your temple drops sharply and the question bursts out of you. You mean a tie?
そうです。
Zhao lowers his voice and moves closer to you as if he's about to share something strange and intriguing.
彼は地元の人間じゃありませんから。私のつてで島に入れました。まあ、かなり手こずりましたが。あの時は大金を稼ぎたいと言ってたのに、まさか命を落とすなんて。はあ、無残な死だったらしいじゃないですか。実は彼、死ぬ直前までうちに来ていて、島を出る方法がないか相談に来てたんですよ。
Luke's gaze darkens, making it hard to tell what he's thinking at the moment.
へえ。シンさんも島を出たがってたって？
ええ。ただ、銭林さんの事件以来、島を出たい人が増えましたからね。あなた方のように大金を払えないなら、待つしかないんです。ああ、本当にお気の毒でしたね。ちょうど順番が回ってきたところだったのに。
Zhao sighs regretfully, hearing that Luke puts his arm on Zhao's shoulder, pretending to be familiar with him.
なあ、千兄さん。その空いた枠、俺にくれないかな。
まさか剛さんの部下なのに興味がおありですか？
剛さんは剛さん、俺は俺さ。下っ端こそ自分の逃げ道を残しておかなきゃ。そうだろ？
Zhao nods in understanding.
それもそうですね。
よし、決まりだな。
Fishing part. After finding an excuse to send Zhao away, you ask some natives along the dock, confirming that there haven't been any ships from outside recently. It is late at night by the time you finish your investigation. On the way out of the fishing port, Luke turns around to look at the dock, which is already covered by thick fog. You can't read his expression at this moment. Luke turns around but doesn't say much else. He claims that it's too late into the night and sends you back to the hotel. Hotel room. The lights turn on as soon as the room card is inserted, but Luke has you wait at the entrance. He thoroughly checks the room inside and out, and then lets out a sigh of relief, weaving you in.
侵入された形跡はない。帰りも尾行されてなかったけど、念のため隣の部屋も取っておいたから。もし何かあったら俺を呼んでくれ。
Got it.
じゃあ、ゆっくり休めよう。俺はもう行くから。
Luke, wait. Before he can react, you grab his arm and push him into the sofa.
お前、どうしたんだ？
I've been busy all day, and I haven't had a chance to ask you yet. Did you get hurt during that fight with those people?
大丈夫だって。元気だぞ。
You know Luke never wants you to worry, so you eye at him suspiciously. Meeting your gaze, Luke solemnly raised an OK sign.
本当に怪我なんてしてない。信じられないなら確かめてみろよ。
Alright, let me have a look then. Luke leans helplessly onto the sofa, looking as if he's willing to do whatever you want. Recalling how he'd blocked the oncoming attacks during the fight, you roll up Luke's sleeves for a thorough look. You are a little relieved to find no scars or bruises. Luke's gaze remains fixed on you, unwavering. You look up and meet his gaze again, only to realize that you two are too close. After a brief pause, you let go of Luke's arm and he rubs his nose.
だから大丈夫だって言ったろ。これで安心したか。
Yeah, everything seems fine. This answer is completely irrelevant. You squeeze the cushion beside you, trying to see something else to lighten the awkwardness between you two. Alright, I suddenly remember. How did you come up with the idea of booking Atai's sport? Do you think there's more to the story?
まあ、勘みたいなものだな。
Luke doesn't seem to mind your abrupt change of topic. He lowers his eyes, thinking for a long while before slowly speaking.
特殊調査員なら、任務中の行動には必ず意味があるはずなんだ。どうしても仙兄さんを頼って島を離れようとしたとは考えにくくてさ。まあ、そんな仕事の癖なんかとっくに捨てちまったのか、銭林に甘い期待を抱いた裏切り者だったのかもしれないが。ただ、
His voice trails off, and Luke doesn't continue. There seemed to be something hidden under his calm expression. You look at him anxiously and can't help but ask. Just that?
いずれにしても少し残念って言えばいいのか。特殊調査員になるのは簡単なことじゃないからな。
Like the ripples caused by a fallen leaf on the water, his voice is filled with regret. Is it because you have to go through many assessments in this process? Luke gently shakes his head.
過酷な状況と厳しい訓練に耐えることは体の方が慣れてくる。乗り越えられないのはその過程にある迷いと恐怖だよ。
Were you like this back then? Luke remains silent, staring at the floor, slightly distracted. Just as you start to think that you won't get an answer from him, you hear a sigh.
最初の訓練って本当に退屈なんだ。仲間たちが任務に出てるのを見て、俺もいつか一緒に戦えるようになるのかなって考えてばかりでさ。だけどその日が来て、俺は初めて気づいた。任務が成功するかどうかにかかわらず、この背中にはいつも命がかかっているって。
Luke rarely speaks of this time. The past is the past, and he has long since become independent with no trace of his younger self left. Then what made you come this far? You open your mouth to ask him that, but no words make it out. Luke looks at you, his eyes firm and gentle, with not a single trace of regret to be seen.
生きたいと思うのは人間の本能だけど、俺のやってることには意味があって、守りたい人もいるんだって考えたら、死への恐怖はだんだんと消えていったんだ。俺だけじゃない。きっとこの仕事を選んだ人はみんなそう思ってる。俺たちが日々磨き上げてるのは、理想から生まれた誠実な心。それだけなんだ。
Luke pauses for a moment before giving you a bitter smile.
だから、不当で仙兄さんから、シンさんが島に来て任務に就いたばかりの頃の話を聞いて、彼の当時の思いを知れたような気がしてさ。誠実に任務を引き受けて、最初は命だって惜しまなかったはずなのに、こんな結末になっちまうなんて。こんなの、やるせないじゃないか。
He shakes his head as if trying to shake off all the thoughts swirling in his mind. But your worry must have been written all over your face as you look most closer.
なんでそんな顔してるんだよ。ただの世間話だし、お前が心配することじゃないって。
I was just thinking about all the dangers you've been through. Luke reaches out his hand, but his fingertips curl back before touching your cheek. Ultimately, he just comfortingly ruffles your hair.
まあまあ、俺は今ここにいるだろう。これからも無事でいるって約束するから、そんな目で見るなよ。
Your vision is blocked by your bangs, and you vaguely see Luke's panic expression. You look up, take a deep breath, and look into Luke's eyes. Yeah, I believe you. We'll be fine this time too. Luke lets out a sigh of relief, glances at the time, then stands up.
もう遅いし、そろそろ休んだ方がいいよな。
He pauses for a moment as if remembering something.
そうだ。シンさんの家から見つけた資料のバックアップの中に、剛さんの無実を証明できる証拠があるかもしれない。明日の朝、確かめてみろ。
Got it. See you tomorrow. The next day, you successfully find evidence in the archives that Chiang had not participated in the fight, just as Luke has said. To reassure Chiang, you decide to tell him about this in person. However, when you follow the address he gave you to an underground casino in the fishing port, you find him arguing with someone. Underground casino.
アトリさん、もう逃げんなって。逃げ切ることなんかできっこないんだから。俺の言った通り自首してくれよ。
お前に何がわかる。鎌田の兄貴がいなけりゃ雑魚のくせによ。
もういっぺん言ってみろ。
Chiang and other delinquents named Wu are arguing fiercely with two groups of people trying to pull them apart. Otherwise, they would have already started fighting. What happened?
あいつか。
After seeing Wu's face, Luke's expression changes. He pulls you into a corner and looks around. Seeing that no one is paying attention to you, he bends down.
昨日言ってた魚臭いやつだ。ちょっと待っててくれ。
Okay, be careful. Luke walks through the crowd of onlookers, stands behind Wu, and put his hand on his shoulder. For some reason, Luke manages to stop Wu, and his aggressiveness instantly disappears. Seeing Luke's arrival, Chiang breaks free from the people holding him and waves his hand around.
もういい。散れ。
剛さん、外で話そう。
Wharf. Leaving the underground casino, you all arrive at a secluded spot at the dock. Realizing there's no way to escape, Wu just gives up resisting. He pulls out a cigarette from his pocket and barely gets it lit before Luke snatches it away. Wu widens his eyes in surprise as Luke throws the cigarette to the ground and crushes it under his foot, the ash brushing against his leather shoes.
今はタバコを吸ってる場合じゃないだろう。
After being glared at by Luke, Wu dares not to make a sound. He turns his head to stare blankly at the sea. Luke turns toward Chiang.
剛さん、何かあったのか。
仲間たちに自首するよう説得してるけど、俺を避ける奴が何人も出てきたんだ。
Chiang glances at Wu, takes out a small notebook from his pocket and opens it to show everyone. Many names are written on the pages, probably listing members of the Zenji society that Chiang can't find.
あいつもその一人だよ。長い間探して、今日やっと一人見つけたんだ。
自首するなら勝手にしろよ。俺たちを巻き込むな。
逃げたって問題は解決しないだろう。
そこまで。
Both of them fall silent and look past Chiang's arm reassuringly.
ちょっと、アトリさんと話したいことがあるんだ。俺に任せてくれないか。ちゃんと説得するから。
Chiang hesitates for a moment before finally nodding.
分かった。お前を信じるよ。
そうだ。その名簿を移してもいいか？
構わないけど、あいつらに会ったら俺に知らせてくれ。
ああ、任せろ。
You take photos of the information in the notebook and inform Chiang that you've found useful clues. After that, Chiang leaves.
さて、何が起きたか教えてもらえるか？
Wu bites his lip and remains silent.
お前の考えを当ててやるよ。どうせ捕まっちまったんだから、話すも話さないも同じ。間違っちゃいない。お前がどんな態度でも、必ず国際保安官のところへ連れて行くからな。だけど、もしシンさんの殺人事件の証人になるなら、刑期は変わってくる。本気で無所暮らしがしたいわけじゃないだろう。
Wu is clearly wavering, and Luke doesn't continue to persuade him further, instead giving him time to reconsider. A few minutes later, Wu looks at Luke as if making up his mind.
話したら本当に減刑してもらえるのか？
黙ってるよりはマシだろ。
そりゃそうだよな。あれは鎌田の兄貴が自首した次の日か、誰かが島の公衆電話から俺に連絡してきたんだ。そいつは俺に約束した。いくつか仕事を手伝えばこの島から脱出させてくれるって。新翼会でもいろいろと汚れ仕事をしてたし、島に残って捕まるのはごめんだったから提案を受け入れた。
つまり、剛さんが連絡を取れなかった人は、全員そいつに集められたってことか。
ああ。他の奴との接触を避けるように言われていたからな。
相手の正体について分かりそうなことは？
Wu shakes his head and, as if to make you believe him even more, waves his hand vigorously to say no.
そいつは何も言わなかった。仕事の指示も前日に知らせるだけで、全体の計画は誰にも明かしていないだろう。ただ、俺は鳥羽で用心棒をやって、千兄さんの商いの連絡係もやっていたから、そいつに千兄さんを通じて確保した島を出る船の枠は、剛の名簿にある人数より多くしろと言われていた。
昨日はどうして岸壁岬にいたんだ？シンさんの死とお前たちに関係はあるのか？
いや、違う。俺たちは2日前に通知を受けて、シンさんの家の近くでお前を待ち伏せするように言われただけだ。ああ。正確には派手なシャツで金の腕時計をした見慣れないチンピラのことだ。
Wu awkwardly look up and down.
岸壁岬を一周して、お前が一番それらしかったんだよ。
You've got to be kidding me. Luke is a little speechless for a moment. He crosses his arms and stares coldly at Wu, who immediately raises his voice.
シンさんの死は俺たちと関係ない。本当だ。
俺を待ち伏せすること以外に指示は？
ないよ。向こうの命令は取り囲むだけで、お前たちを本当に捕まえる必要はないと。
You exchange a glance with Luke, whose expression is extremely sincere, and he doesn't seem like he's lying.
これぐらいにしておくか。もし何かあったらまた連絡する。お前のこともちゃんと報告しておくからな。
Chinese restaurant. After handing over the list obtained from Chiang and Wu to the international security officer, Luke takes you straight to a Chinese restaurant. Aren't we supposed to investigate the people behind him?
もうご飯時だろ。仕事はその後がいいんだ。腹が減っては戦ができぬって言うだろ。昨日誰かさんが体調管理も大事にっ って言ってたしな。今日は全部忘れちまったか？
I wasn't paying attention to the time. After sitting down in the corner, Luke quickly places the order. You prop your head up and you can't help but think of what Wu said.
何考えてるんだ？
Just thinking about our list, don't you find this strange, Luke? We found out a lot of things, but the external forces beyond the island have become more mysterious.
お前も怪しいと思うか？
You nod and take out your tablet from your bag, listing the suspicious points one by one. According to Zhao, the only way to get to the island is through him, but there have been no foreign ships at the fishing port as of late. Or did they choose to cooperate with the Zenji Society from the very beginning? Luke takes the stylus and draws a small cross behind this line.
でも、シンさんを殺したのは新翼会の残党じゃない。彼らがあそこまで完璧に現場を片すのは不可能だ。それに、シンさんを殺したのが身元を隠すためなら、残党と手を組むなんて本末転倒じゃないか。シンさんを誘い込んで捕まえることだってできたはずだからな。
Stuck in another dead end, Luke suddenly scratches external force from outside the island of the list.
最初から当該の勢力なんて存在しなかったら。
Huh?
第三勢力がいたっていう確かな証拠と手がかりは、昨日俺たちが襲撃を受けたってことだけなんだよ。でも今は新翼会の連中だって分かってる。誰かが俺の正体を彼らに漏らしたんだ。相手の狙いは誤った真実に導くこと。
You start thinking hard about what Luke said, and this approach makes a lot of sense. It clears up many things that had initially confused you. After killing Atai, the murderer hired the remnant of the Zenji Society and disguised them as an external force from beyond the island. It was no wonder you couldn't find any clues because it was something that never existed in the first place. Luke, what was it that misled you? He lowers his eyes and remains silent for a while. The server walks over with a tray and places a few small side dishes on the table. As the server walks farther away, leaving only the two of you in this space, Luke begins to speak slowly.
伊藤英二。
Atai's house. Sunlight shines through the crack of the door into the house. The place hasn't been thoroughly cleaned after the investigation. The white chalk outline stands out, particularly in the dim environment. Luke looks over the white line and shifts his gaze toward the ground nearby.
伊藤さん、何か手がかりになりそうなものは？
The man standing against the wall shakes his head. His face is hidden in the shadows, making it difficult to see him.
身元が割れないようにシンと会う機会はそんなになかったんだ。
彼のハードディスクがなくなった後も連絡を取らなかったのか？
2、3回あったがその話は出なかった。機密情報を他人に明け渡すはずがない。普通はな。あいつも俺に説明しようがなかったんじゃないか。
普通なら研究所にハードディスクがあるのは一体どんな状況になる？
シンは島で情報屋になりすまし、研究所の近くでも情報を集めていた。それはお前も知ってるだろう。
Luke responds briefly, finding the room way too dim for his liking. He flips the light switch with a click. The fluorescent light flickers twice before fully lighting up, and Luke finally sees Heron's calm expressions.
その ID カードが示唆するものは何だと思う？
Luke remains silent, and Hurong doesn't continue speaking, as if trying to force an answer through silence. A long time passes, long enough that even the birds outside lose their patience and flutter their wings. Finally, Luke speaks in a low voice.
銭林からの信頼だ。
Luke turns in the not so spacious space as if trying to confirm something and pulls open a drawer, but there are only some daily necessities inside. The bookshelf, the bed, the potted plant by the window, everything in the living room shows traces of someone having lived here for a long time. It did not fit with his death. Luke understands that the fragmented clues can piece together the story of Attai's betrayal, but he feels that something is off, almost like second instinct. Why would a traitor continue living a bitter life here?
俺も信じられないよ。
As if seeing through what Luke is thinking, Hurong does something out of the character by patting his shoulder.
同期として一緒に訓練を受けた。任務をこなし、島に上陸し。彼は実直な男だったからな。あいつが銭林に寝返るとは思えないが、今はその方向で調査するしかないだろう。
Luke shifts sideways, dodging the hand on his shoulder.
だが、シンさんの死は銭林と無関係のはずだ。時期も動機も合わない。銭林の下について何が得られる？
金、権力、あるいは信じが島を離れ穏やかな人生を過ごすための切符。まあ本人しかわからないだろうがな。
島を離れる。そんなことが。
The fluorescent light flickers again with the hum of electricity drowning out Luke's murmuring. Hurong does not answer him. Chinese restaurant. In that small dining area, their conversation had once been the starting point of the investigation, but now is overshadowed by darkness.
後の推理は最初に言った通り、シンさんにとって金や権力はどうでもよくて、銭林を利用して島を出て穏やかな生活を手に入れようとしてたんじゃないかって思ってたんだ。あの時はな。
After a long narrative, Luke summarized his conversation with Hurong. You lower your head and start stirring the vegetable porridge in front of you. You shake your head. I don't think there's any fault in what he said. Do you think he's lying?
いや、
Luke unexpectedly gives you a negative answer.
特殊調査員なら嘘を見抜く訓練を受けてるし、シンさんの死がどれだけ波紋を呼ぶかわからない以上、嘘をつくのは得策じゃない。ただ、全部本当のことを話したって、言葉の順序を変えたり省いたりすれば、それだけで立派な嘘になるんだ。
Are you saying he constructed a montage-like lie?
ああ、手がかりを発見する順番から彼に仕組まれたものだった。俺もその罠にはめられちまったってわけだな。
Hard drive, the scope of Attai's actions, the meaning of their ID card, and finally the benefits of betrayal. Throughout the entire process, Hurong never actually said that Attai had swapped sides. Instead, he used his words to steer Luke in the wrong direction. You feel a chill run down your spine, unable to imagine how Hurong could weave such a fine and intricate web in such a short time. But there's still one thing I can't figure out.
なんだ？
Hurong had no reason to do this. There were no traces of him left at the crime scene, and no eyewitnesses were present. This was a perfect crime. He had no need to go out of his way to expose himself unless a thought flashes through your mind, and as if reading your mind, Luke speaks.
犯人だと認めることより、もっと隠したい事実がある。
The lingering mist seems to dissipate somewhat, and perhaps you are now closer to the truth, just one last step away. Your heart skips a bit. You take a deep breath to calm yourself down and begin to reconstruct the crime scene in your mind. If Luke had been the only one looking into it at the time. Luke, if you hadn't met her wrong, what would you have investigated in a perfect crime scene?
現場を調査して何もなかったら、シンさんの足取りを重点的に調べて。
Luke pauses for a moment as if realizing something and subconsciously leans forward. His elbow knocks into the porcelain bowl, making it scrap across the table with a sharp grating sound that makes you flinch.
そうか。これが伊藤さんの狙いだ。俺たちにシンさんについて調べてほしくなかったから、当該の勢力に注意を向けさせた。だとしたら、シンさんは証拠を残しているかもしれない。そして、伊藤さんはまだ見つけられていない。
As an informant, Altai was certainly familiar with many places on the island. Hurong will have to search every spot if he wants to find evidence. But if even Hurong can't find it, how can we find it?
馴染みのある場所は危険だ。シンさんだってそれくらいは分かってたはず。
He glances at the jumbled mess of clues recorded on the tablet, his gaze locked onto the edge.
漁港だ。
Are you referring to the fishing boat reserved by Altai?
当たり。
Let's hurry over then.
待った待った。
Just as you're about to get up, Luke stops you. He looks at the barely touched dishes on the table and lets out a soft sigh.
まだろくに食べてないじゃないか。そんなに焦ることないって。証拠はすぐになくなったりしない。何より、この2日間、俺たちは頻繁に漁港に出入りしてた。伊藤さんが気づかないはずがない。行く前に準備しておかないとな。
Temporary residence. After lunch, Luke brings you to his temporary residence on the island. The room is a little old, but he has cleaned it up nicely. Luke opens the wardrobe door, fiddling around for a moment, and removes the partition. He pulls out a backpack. He takes out everything from this backpack: pistol, bullets, holster. You stare surprised at the gradually filling table.
ほら、防弾チョッキだ。寝室で着替えてこいよ。
Luke, do we really need to go this far just to collect evidence?
うまいこと証拠が手に入ればいいけど、伊藤さんがどこまで掴んでるかわからないからな。万全の体制で臨んだ方がいい。
Can't we ask the international security officers for help? Luke shakes his head, stuffing the bulletproof vest into your arms.
これは内輪もめ。何万の中の話だからさ。よその力を借りようとはしないと思う。とはいえ万が一の時には保安官に連絡するから安心してくれ。
Alright.
よし、行ってこい。ちゃんと密着させるんだぞ。
You quickly put on the bulletproof vest, and by the time you return to the living room, Luke has already changed into his gear and is assembling a pistol.
できたか？
How's this? Luke turns around and carefully gives you a once-over, his hands never once stopping.
大丈夫そうだ。そうだ、こいつもつけてくれ。
Luke puts the assembled pistol aside and hands you a shoulder holster.
これは予備用。火力が足りなくなった時のために。
Okay. You take off your coat and put on the holster according to Luke's instructions, but something still feels wrong.
俺が調整してやるよ。
Luke walks behind you, adjusting the tightness of the shoulder strap. Neither of you speak. The narrow space is too quiet, amplifying the sound of the shoulder strap rubbing against the cloth. At this moment, Luke embodies the warmth you feel from his fingertips, the breath brushing against your nape, and the shadow being cast over you. You straighten your back, feeling that the holster fits much better now. I'm still not quite used to it.
怖いか？
The question is accompanied by something cold touching your waist as Luke slides the assembled pistol into the holster. The imminent danger seems to finally dawn on you, but you shake your head. I'm not sure. Maybe it's because we're acting together, but I feel like everything will be fine no matter what happens. You feel the harness on your back suddenly tighten before it gets quickly readjusted. Look, what's wrong? The sunlight suddenly streams in through the window, brightening the entire living room. Even the dust particles floating in the air are clearly visible in the light. Luke hesitates for a moment before speaking in a low voice.
実は、お前を安全な場所に避難させることも考えたんだ。
What? No way! You can't help but turn around when you hear that Luke wants to go alone again.
いや、まだ俺の話は終わっちゃいない。最後まで聞いてくれ。
Luke holds you back and sighs helplessly.
伊藤さんは用心深い男で、次の一手が読めない。俺は専門的な訓練を受けてるから、危険な状況下の対処法は分かってる。だけど、お前の命を危険にさらす真似はしたくない。
You can't even say anything in response to his solid reasoning. Look, if he had said this from the start, I wouldn't have been able to refuse. Although he does have a point. The thought makes you a little angry, but Luke seems to have finished adjusting the harness on you. He places his hand on your shoulder and turns you towards him.
怒ってる。
No, I'm just... You feel that you are left behind to watch his retreating back more often than not only to wait for him to return and casually downplay the danger. You feel like a deflated balloon, lacking conviction. Look, I don't think I'll feel at ease unless I'm with you.
だったら、今は一緒にいるじゃないか。
You look down at the pistol on your waist. The metal glints coldly in the light. He puts another smaller pistol into your palm, the same one he used to teach you how to hold a gun last time. You hold the pistol and look up at him. So, why did you change your mind again?
島の状況が不安定だからさ。やっぱり、俺のそばが一番安全じゃないかって思い直したんだよ。
What?
それに、ずっと追いかけてきた事件の結末を見届けられないなんて、お前に悪いし。
You clench your fist and pretending to be annoyed, punching Luke's shoulder. It's good that you knew. Maybe just don't beat around the bush next time.
そうは言うけど、俺だって任務の危険性は説明したくてだな。でも、お前の言う通りだ。何があっても、ちゃんと守ってやるよ。
Not just me. You must also protect yourself.
了解。
Luke smiles, carefully looking you up and down, and nods with satisfaction.
準備はほとんど整ったし、練習しに行くぞ。
Practice?
ああ、 今回は実戦になるかもしれないからな。お前はまだ本番の射撃経験がないし、急いで訓練しておいた方がいいだろう。自慢じゃないが、俺の射撃の腕前はチームでもトップクラスだぞ。左右どっちでも同じように撃てるんだ。いいコーチになってやるよ。
Let's set off then. Luke takes you to an abandoned shooting range nearby and trains you for an entire afternoon. You didn't know much about using a gun at the beginning, but as he said, he is a good coach. You've seen a huge improvement in skills and your accuracy has gone up a lot. The sky is already dark out by the time everything is ready. Before leaving, Luke gives you a small communicator.
予定通り、今日は何万から支援部隊が島に到着する。漁港に直接来てもらうように伝えてあるから。彼らが上陸したら、この通信機に連絡が来るはずだ。受信して振動したら、一番右のボタンを押して位置情報を送ってくれ。
What are the other two buttons for?
真ん中のは周波数を変えられる。この通信機は支援部隊のものとしか繋がってないから、他の周波数に合わせても雑音しか聞こえない。一番左のボタンは、側面のボタンと一緒に押すと通信機が自爆する。爆発する範囲は広くないから、よほどのヘマをしなきゃ大怪我はしない。
Got it. After confirming no one is following you to take a secluded path to reach the fishing port. At the coastal edge, boats of all sizes are stacked together, compressing the people who came and went along with their souls as if in containers. Having contacted Zhao in advance, someone picks you up at the dock and takes you onto the boat. Ship cabin. The cabin is small with old and worn-out facilities. There is just a small lamp by the bed, emitting a faint glow. Who knows how many guests have stayed here over time? There are quite a few personal items scattered around the cabin, but fortunately there isn't much furniture. Luke looks around and walks to the bed on the left while you walk to the table on the right.
よし、始めるぞ。
After carefully searching the cabin 3 times, you find nothing related to the evidence. Maybe it's not here. Just as you wonder if you're missing something, you catch a glimpse of the scratch on the floor. Look, the scratches here seem a bit different. Because of the dim lighting and the cabin being somewhat old, these scratches are not particularly noticeable. Luke turns on the flashlight and squats down to observe it carefully. He then points to the desk by the wall.
ここの傷跡、新しくできたものだな。道具を取ってきてくれないか。床をこじ開けてみるから。
Luke fiddles with the floorboard, gently opening it. You poke your head in to see a waterproof bag underneath. He opens the bag and takes out a thick stack of paper, which are documents and blurred photos. You see her wrong signature in the corner.
伊藤さんが裏切り者の証拠だ。
No wonder he wanted to mislead us. Luke merely glances at the documents before quickly stuffing them back into the waterproof bag, but then he suddenly stops. What's wrong?
もう一枚、紙が。
Luke unfolds the paper, which is a will. You lean closer to the light and see the text on it. It is not long and the handwriting is somewhat messy. Thinking of the small and old desk in Attai's living room, you are almost able to picture him writing at his desk.
拠点でこの遺書を書き留めることにした。私はいつ死んでもおかしくない。 1ヶ月前、ハードディスクが銭林の手に渡った。これが仕組まれた罠だと気づいたのは、後になってからのことである。その罠は、私の仲間であり戦友、伊藤英二に仕掛けられたものだ。彼は、私が島で最も信頼する男だった。ハードディスクを取り返すため、戦地研究所に潜入した結果、伊藤が銭林の手下になったことを知ったが、伊藤の裏切りの証拠と、彼の高い権限を持つ ID カードを入手したところで、不運にも彼に見つかってしまった。組織との連絡は絶たれたが、伊藤が私に手を下す前に、証拠をここに隠す。私が島を出られなくても、せめて証拠だけは外に届けられるだろう。幸い、伊藤が私を理解するように、私も伊藤を理解している。残された時間で罠を仕掛け返したのだ。彼を誘導し、別の場所に証拠は隠されていると思わせる罠を。自分の得意とする手口があの男を追い詰める刃となる。しかし、本当に証拠を見つけられる人がいるだろうか。真実は明らかになるのだろうか。いつかその日が来ることを切に願う。島に潜入して7年が経つ。おそらくこれが最後の年になるだろう。こんなにも長い間家に帰らないとは、最近になって故郷を思う。だがどうやって帰るというのだ。
A single page covers Atai's 7 years on the island. He has already persisted for 7 years. But now, you are speechless, and Luke lowers his head. His fingertips turn pale as he grips the wheel tightly in his hands.
必ず真実は明らかにする。
As if making up his mind and also making a promise to a soul. Luke carefully folds the wheel, places it together with the evidence, and seals the waterproof bag.
そろそろ出よ
Just as he places his hand on the doorknob of the cabin, a burst of noise comes from the dock. Luke glances through the window and his expression changes abruptly.
う。まずい。伊藤さんが人を連れてきてる。今夜には支援部隊が到着する。なんとかして伊藤さんたちを漁港に足止めしないと。
You stuff the waterproof bag back below, covering it with a board, and then find some debris to conceal it. He has brought so many people here. He definitely doesn't want us to leave the fishing port. He won't stop until he gets the evidence, so carrying it with us would be dangerous.
よし、あいつらを片付けてから取りに戻ろう。
You nod and walk behind Luke, who opens the cabin door. Fishing part. You can't remember how many corners you've turned, but Luke drags you along as he takes off. His figure is the only thing in your sight. The metallic taste of blood gradually begins to spread in your mouth as you overexert yourself. Nothing is audible except for the thudding footfalls and the sound of heavy breathing. You vaguely register a door being pushed open, followed by the click of a lock. You two have finally come to a stop, but you're too exhausted to observe where you are. You rest your forehead against Luke's shoulder, closing your eyes as you gasp for breath. He gently strokes your back.
ゆっくり息を吸って。そう、その調子だ。
I'm feeling much better. You raise your head and look around. This seems to be an abandoned warehouse with plenty of places to hide. Luke pulls you behind the shelf farthest from the door. Your heart pounds fiercely as if having just narrowly escaped a disaster, and the fear lingers. With a click, the bullets are loaded. Luke holds the pistol with a gentle yet determined expression. You meet his gaze and gradually calm down.
銃の撃ち方、覚えてるよな。
Yeah, I remember. Don't worry, Luke. You saw this afternoon that my aim is pretty good.
じゃあ、狙撃手の腕前を見せてもらおうかな。
You take out the pistol and get ready. Seeing that you're ready, Luke becomes serious again.
さっき伊藤さんが連れてきた人を数えてみたが、俺たちを追いかけた人ほど多くはない。多分、国際保安官に渡した名簿が役に立ったんだろう。何人か逮捕者が出て、向こうの勢力がそがれたってわけだな。おまけに、俺たちが証拠を持ったままだと思って、漁港から出られないよう、出口に大勢の手下を待機させているはずだ。だから、彼が連れてきた連中だけを相手にするなら、突破できないこともない。
Luke looks around and stares at the shelf in front of you.
この遮蔽物の多い中で、今、俺たちのいる位置が一番見晴らしが良くて、入り口を攻撃しやすい場所だ。だけどそのせいで、彼らを攻撃する前に、俺たちは身をさらさないといけない。
What do you want me to do? Luke points to the fire extinguisher hanging by the door with his pistol.
消火器を撃って時間を稼いでくれ。新翼界の残党は大した敵じゃないと思う。不意をつけば動揺するだろう。そのうちに一気に片付けてやる。
You estimate the distance of the fire extinguisher, which is farthest than your previous shooting range, so you can't help but grip the pistol tightly.
あいつらは入ってくると手分けして俺たちを探すだろう。だから発砲のタイミングが肝心なんだ。早すぎると撤退する隙を与えちまうし、遅すぎれば散らばっちまう。お前がいいと思った時に撃ってくれ。
You pause and look down at the pistol in your hand, your palm covered in cool sweat. I got it. You grip the gun and nod firmly as if making a solemn promise. I will do it, Luke, because you believe in me.
ああ、わかってる。プレッシャーに感じなくていい。俺がついてるからな。
Me, but if the timing is off and you don't hit the fire extinguisher, the worst case scenario pops into your head. You feel uneasy and can't find the courage to agree. He holds the barrel of your pistol, his fingers casually resting on the back of your hand.
お前を信じてる。心配すんなって。何が起きても俺がいるから。
Regaining courage from meeting his gaze, you nod firmly. I got it. There are gunshots outside, probably aimed at the lock, and the warehouse door bursts open. You take a deep breath, force yourself to calm down, and raise your arms to aim at the fire extinguisher. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just as Luke predicted, her round didn't bring many people. There are only 5, including him. They walk into the warehouse one by one while Hurong walks cautiously at the back of the line. Timing. When Hurong completely enters the warehouse and is 2 steps away from the entrance, your gut tells you that it's time. You pull the trigger, shooting the bullet. It hit! Dust bursts forth, making the doorway a white blur. The figures of those men blur in a flash. Luke lunges out from behind the shelf and fires without hesitation.
何があった？
Amidst the gunshots, you hear two screams at the same time, which then fade into whimpers and moans. But Horong is no stranger to combat. Even with his vision obscured, he swiftly locks onto your positions. A bullet zips through the shelf and passes by your body. You're startled, but before you can feel fear, adrenaline washes over you. Chaotic footsteps get closer, gradually surrounding you.
こっちだ
Luke opens his right arm and you quickly run into his embrace. A figure flashes in front of you and Luke lifts you up. Utilizing your new position, you kick the man and Luke quickly finishes by firing another shot. Blood runs down, stained black by the dust on the ground. A fierce look flashes across Luke's face. The warehouse falls briefly silent. Horong and the last guy have managed to find cover in the middle of the chaotic fight.
あと二人俺が今何をしたいかわかるか
Of course, let me help you lure them out. They're planning a pincer attack and your positions are already exposed. Hiding any longer would just make you easy targets. Therefore, it would be better to be more exposed in this situation. You pull the trigger again, shooting aimlessly. The last delinquent isn't as sharp as Horong, and he'll most likely to take the shot at the moment he spots you, and that's all Luke needs.
かかったな
His tone is light, almost as if he is simply making a casual comment on something. You've yet to find the figure when the gunshots sound again. Bang! The delinquent collapsed heavily behind the place where he was taking cover, bringing down an entire section of shelves with him. Luke only fires 4 bullets, completely wiping out Horong's lackeys. The communicator in your hand suddenly vibrates. You quickly press the rightmost button and move it closer to Luke's ear. Backup has arrived. The dust has completely dissipated. Luke releases you and points his gun at the figure not far away. That's Horong, who is also holding a gun. He points a muzzle at you. The moonlight shines through the glass onto Horong's face, shrouding him in an eerie shadow.
お前の部下か相棒か、それとも恋人か。まあ何でもいい。彼女の命が惜しければ、おとなしく銃を下ろせ。
Luke, don't listen to him. He went there to shoot. His right hand reaches down to touch you. You feel him shaking a little, so you clench your fist, push down the fear, and stare at the dark, deep muzzle. Horong, you know what will happen if you kill me. You've done all this to survive and to live a better life. You won't do it. Under the circumstances, it's not really about confronting Horong. You are encouraging yourself and Luke and using this fleeting moment of courage to gamble with Horong. Fortunately, you won.
今は手を出さないだけのことだ。さっきあれだけ派手に銃撃戦をやらかして、うちの連中が来ないと思ったか。みなせ、いくらお前が腕利きでも、多勢に無勢だぞ。
Horong laughs mockingly.
だから今のうちに取引しようじゃないか。証拠を渡せばお前たちを生かしてやる。何万のことでこんな必死にならなくてもいいだろう。彼女のことも考えてやれよ。
Horong moves to point the gun at you. He's stalling for time. We need to find a way to get out of this. You look up at Luke, trying to remind him, but he is completely expressionless and calm.
あの時シンさんにもそう言ったのか証拠を渡してくれ一緒に銭林の傘下に入ろうと誘ったのに断られたから殺した違うなら教えてくれよ
Horong remains unfazed in the face of Luke's questions. You realize that Luke knows what Horong is up to, but he still chooses to step into this trap just to get justice for Atai. A justice that has nothing to do with law, but everything to do with ideals and sincerity.
あのバカに同情してるのか？
バカだと。
そうさ。俺の提案を受け入れなかったんだから。銭林さんについて何が悪い？少なくとも俺をここから連れ出してくれるんだ。俺はシンとは違う。あいつは死ぬまで甘かったし、死んでからも俺を安心させてくれない。あんな小細工さえなければ、お前たちに足元を救われることもなかったんだ。
お前と同じ手を使っただけだろ。
Horong glares venomously at Luke, raising his voice.
奴は任務が終われば何万から呼び戻されると信じていたようだが、もう7年も島にいたんだぞ。いつになったら終わる？また7年後か、それとも次の7年、また次の7年か。もうたくさんだ。水瀬、あいつと同じ道を選んでくれるな。まだ話し合えるうちに証拠を渡せ。
ふざけるなよ。
Luke's tone is filled with anger, and Horong snorts disdainfully. But we already know the truth, and now, even if you get the evidence, it won't make a difference. Someone is approaching the warehouse, and Horong also hears footsteps drawing near. He smiles smugly.
お前たちが死ねば意味を持つだろう。
やっぱり、ここまでやっておいて、表向きは任務を終えたことにして、栄誉を手に帰るつもりなんだろう。銭林も新さんも死んだ。俺たちも死ねば、お前が島でやったことを知る人は、この世からいなくなるってわけだ。
どうせ死ぬんだ。無駄な抵抗はやめろ。
Luke's breathing grows slightly rapid as he tries to stand his ground. You look at him anxiously. If it weren't for you, he could have gone all out. Although he is wearing a bulletproof vest, it won't save him from a hit to the head. Luke must have thought of this as well, which is why he isn't acting rashly. You wonder when the support from Nanman Bay will arrive. If things keep going like this, and Horong's men come over, you'll be completely at risk. Time is running out. A thought flashes through your mind as you clench the communicator in your hand. Luke. You call out his name softly. He doesn't move, but you know that he must have heard you. Go ahead and do it. I'll have your back this time. You press the leftmost and side buttons on the communicator, quickly throwing it towards Horong. The communicator explodes midair and your right wrist is burning, but you can only ignore it for now. Your move distracts Horong for a moment, which is enough for Luke. He fires in Horong's direction while quickly pulling you back towards the shelf behind. However, Horong's men have already arrived, streaming in through the main entrance.
隠れろ!
You duck behind the shelf and Luke swiftly draws the spare pistol from the holster by your waist, firing both guns simultaneously, barely holding back the enemy's assault. Behind the shelf, Luke shields you in a narrow corner. You can't see what's going on outside, and all you can hear is the continuous piercing sound of gunshots. His aim is deadly accurate, and no one dares to come near for a while. Finally, before he uses up all the bullets, the support from Nanman Bay arrives. The sound of a gunfire fades, and Luke finally lowers his arms, leaning wearily against the shelf. We're safe. You collapse on the ground, mumbling with tears falling down your face. Is this what it feels like to come so close to death? You are lost in thought. How many times did Luke have to experience this to get used to it? Before you can come out with an answer, you fall into a warm embrace. You've never known Luke to embrace you so tightly. You lean on his shoulder, letting your tears fall on his neck.
よかった。お前が無事でよかった。
Luke repeats the same sentence. The embrace doesn't last long, and he soon releases you.
大丈夫だったか？どこか痛むところはないか？
Unable to stop your tears, you nod before shaking your head. Finally, you open your hand, showing a small burn on your wrist. Luckily, it isn't serious.
お前をちゃんと守れなかった。
No, this is fine, Luke. I'm glad we are still alive. A shadow falls overhead. It is a member of the support team.
お二人ともご苦労様でした。犯人は全員確保の上、重傷を負った者はすでに救急搬送済みです。
わかりました。ありがとうございます。
You quickly regain your composure, and Luke pulls you up. Horong has not yet left. He is being escorted by the support team, his eyes filled with defiance. But when he sees Luke, he suddenly laughs.
ミナセ、所詮理想なんて口から出まかせだ。お前たちが作り上げた幻に過ぎない。たった二文字で多くのバカどもを釣れるんだからな。俺はもう騙されない。だがお前は。
His gaze sweeps over Luke and then over you.
お前たちはその幻に浸り続けていればいい。真のことはお前がよく理解しているんだろう。奴の無念を晴らそうとしたくせに、俺には指一本触れられないじゃないか。あいつを心から思っているのに、敵討ちさえできないとはな。
Using the same contemptuous tone, Horong continues provoking Luke. Maybe you're just imagining it, but you see a look of desperation on Horong's face. He's saying these meaningless words now. Luke, he wants to provoke you to make you... Before you can finish your sentence, you hear a gunshot ring out. You look at Luke in surprise as he lowers his arm. The gun falls to the ground with a clatter. However, the bullet whistles past Horong's cheek and shoots toward the window behind him. The glass shatters, with countless shards flying outward and falling on the asphalt road. The moonlight falls on the glass shards, casting a cold glow as the moonlight splinters in different directions.
純粋でいることは時に愚かで、バカを見るようなことなのかもしれないな。だけど、お前にだけは裁く資格なんてない。だってあんたは、シンさんを殺しただろう。その罪こそ、法律と道徳と、わずかにでも残った良心によって裁かれるべきだ。ただ、それはもう、俺の仕事じゃない。
Luke doesn't look back at Horong again as he pulls you away from the warehouse. But you do. Turning around, you see Horong with his head down, looking as if all his strength had been drained out of him. Perhaps a piece of glass is not the only thing that breaks tonight. Like moonlight spilling onto shattered glass, a heart once burning with ideals was also broken. Since you and Luke are only slightly injured, you are in and out of the hospital in a jiffy. The evidence of Horong's betrayal is successfully handed over to Nanman Bay, and Atai's body will be transported back to Nanman Bay for burial. After everything is settled, you two revisit Atai's base on the island where he lived and put a bunch of flowers at the entrance. Go home, Atai. Though you sleep eternally, your soul will live on forever. dim sum diner. 3 days later. Pushing open the familiar door, you see Luke sitting in the corner waving at you.
来たな。料理は出来たてが並んでるから、早く食べてくれ。
You're here quite early today.
最近は何万との引き継ぎだけだからな。楽になったよ。お前は？
Still busy with Xiang's keys, but I've already made a big breakthrough.
その様子じゃ、もうしばらく島で忙しくなりそうか。二人で過ごす時間も減っちまうな。
What? Luke mutters, but you don't catch his last sentence. You look at him in confusion.
なんでもない。
He picks up a shrimp dumpling and shoves it into your mouth. Hey!
つまり、仕事を終わらす前に、一緒に朝ごはんを食べる約束を果たすぞってこと。
A breeze blows into the shop, gently lifting the door curtain. With a glance and a smile, you turn back, putting all the troublesome thoughts in your head to rest. Let this moment be one of peace, and let all the unpleasantness fade away with the breeze.
もしもし、俺だ。聞こえない？こっちのせいか。だったら。どうだ？前に出たらだいぶマシになったろ？画質は悪いままだけど、そこはまあ我慢してくれ。気づいたか？そうだ、港にいる。この島の最終任務で何万と密輸ルートを摘発してたんだ。ついさっき終わったよ。はあ、休みなく働いたけど、いざ終わってみると実感がなくてさ。うん。昔にもあったよ。危険な緊急任務があって、神経が高ぶって、ふっと気を抜くと、目の前の平和が嘘みたいに手元から離れる感じがする。でも今回は違う。お前が一緒にいてくれたからな。嘘じゃないって。そう信じられるし、安心してるんだ。昔の任務の話が聞きたい？うん、別にいいけど、終わったことなのに誰かさんを心配させちまうとな。今回みたいな危ない任務ばかりでもない。面白かったやつもあるし。心霊事件の調査だろ？宇宙人の痕跡探しだろ？ごめんごめん。ただの冗談だよ。そんなに気になるなら、これからは任務前になるべくお前に報告するよ。どうだ？よし、じゃあ決まりだな。そういや、前に剛さんの件ももうすぐ終わるって聞いたけど、帰るまで何日か残ってるし。近くの島に小旅行してみないか？ここまで来て、この土地のことを知らないで離れるのはもったいないぞ。それに、俺のことが心配だったんだろ？会って確かめてくれよ。うん、俺が迎えに行く。旅行の買い物もしよう。あ、また後でな。